Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Poblis. Poblis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out poblis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Joe here, along with Jessica, Adam, Kobe, and Matt. Very excited to have everyone on the program today. And for all our listeners, viewers, especially listeners on the Ultimate Sports Radio Network, a special welcome to you guys. Be sure to participate in the chat room and leave a comment. We'll love to answer questions right here on the air. We have so much to talk about. We'll first get started with Formula One at Imola.
That's right, because yesterday pre-practice 1 and 2 saw Mercedes silence the Dobbs with 1-2 performance. Verstappen was third fastest on the first season, but had issues in the second going off track. Last year, Red Bull had disaster race at Imola. So how important is for Red Bull Max to get off to a great start after missing out on the win at Bahrain?
They need to get ahead to control the strategy. We saw Mercedes control the race through strategy in Bahrain with Lewis doing that extra stop and managed to get the victory. Okay, he would have lost out if Max hadn't overtaken off the road at the end, but these things happen. But yeah, if Red Bull, and Max can get a jump, he's third on the grid. He's got to get past his teammate. We'll talk about him in a moment. But if they can get ahead of Lewis, and of course his tail gunner Bottas is way down in 8th position after having a disastrous Saturday qualifying. If Max can get ahead of Lewis in those early laps, then Red Bull can control the strategy and make it play their way.
I totally agree with you, Matt. It's going to be extremely important for Max to get ahead of Lewis early and try to pull away so he can be able to control the race and the strategy at hand. But also, not just Max. Look at Checo. Checo had a really great qualifying performance, and I think that's a really good sign for Red Bull heading into the race. As you mentioned, disastrous qualifying session for Valtteri Bottas, so it doesn't look like he's going to be in contention. So it looks like it's just going to be Lewis taking the fight to the Red Bulls, and it'll be interesting to see if Red Bull can get around Lewis and try to take the win away from him in Mercedes.
That's right. Red Bull did get both cars in the top 3 for tomorrow's race. However, is Sergio Perez on the front row with Sir Lewis Hamilton? Did Sergio Perez surprise you this weekend?
Yes, Sergio Perez's performance, get on the front row, was a surprise. I always anticipate Sergio Perez to be up there in the front, but I always anticipate to see Max Verstappen usually leading the way. Second race of the year, to be up there, that was very exciting to see Sergio Perez do this and be in the front row.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, Joe. It was really surprised to see Sergio Perez on the front row of the Formula One race tomorrow. I believe that if he can find a way to at least stay in the top 3 tomorrow, he'll have a good shot for the win tomorrow. And it would be cool if it could be a Red Bull 1-2.
And I think Sergio was chosen for his great talent, unfortunately, and he has moments where the car fails, but if there is something that the Mexican has done is so respond to the demands of the team, they are going to ask him to be above, but he don't know if directly above Verstappen, but he has the demand of the result on his back. He's responding very well. And this piece is expected to keep him going tomorrow race.
Yeah, that pace expected to go tomorrow, and he has definitely responded back. What an effort by Sergio Perez. Of course, one of the big things, Lewis Hamilton has both Red Bulls behind him. His teammate Valtteri Bottas all the way back in 8th starting position, so way in the back. We've seen Red Bull struggle in the past when it was just Max against the two Mercedes by themselves. Now that Red Bull has the advantage of two of them up front, will it be hard for Lewis Hamilton to defend the lead against the two Red Bulls?
I think everything will depend on the start. Hamilton can stay with the lead since it's the very demanding circuit. We must to be attentive to see how Sergio Perez starts, and from there will be know if it will be easy for Hamilton to keep the first place.
Tell you what will be key in the race tomorrow is safety cars. This is an old school circuit. We saw the safety car in use here last year. Of course, that led to George Russell unfortunately spinning away points in his Williams under the safety car. But if Red Bull can get that to play to their advantage, if they, as we've mentioned, they've got two guns at the front there against Lewis, if Bottas is a little bit further back, they can use Perez in a overcut undercut rule depending on how the tyres wear during the Grand Prix. So yeah, it looks like it all could be coming together for Red Bull. Can they complete the puzzle in the race tomorrow?
That'll be the big question. Can Red Bull complete that puzzle? Yet, of course, Sergio Perez, first Red Bull driver to out-qualify Max Verstappen since Daniel Ricciardo without no red flags or a wet track condition. He'll be starting on the soft tires, a great opportunity to capture the early lead. Charles Leclerc, 4th place in qualifying, but the top 9 are all within 1 second of each other. How difficult will it be for Bottas, who is starting 8th and with such a close field, to come up and try to help Lewis, his teammate?
Yeah, Bottas' situation is more complicated. He must gain positions above touches and ahead. He has drivers only for a podium, and above all, a lot of jump in addition. And he has someone like Carlos Sainz will be also come behind him, and he will want to come back.
I think I believe Bottas will have. It'll be hard for Bottas tomorrow to come through the field. The top 8 are really good drivers, and if he has at least a top 10 finish tomorrow, I think it'll be really good for him after starting in 8th position for the Formula 1 race.
9 a.m. tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific on ESPN here in the United States. Weather definitely going to be something where a little bit of a cooler day, as we can see the temperatures right there. Race begins 3 p.m. local time at Imola. A lot of questions coming in, particularly will Lewis Hamilton get this win? Will a Red Bull driver get a win? And if so, which one? Is going to be a very exciting race. And of course, we encourage everyone to, on Twitter, be sure to follow Matt on Twitter at Matt White Racing.
The NASCAR Cup Series comes to Richmond Raceway with 7 different winners in 8 races with 1 repeat winner. Martin Truex Jr. won his 2nd race of 2021 and has a good record at Richmond. He'll be starting on the pole Sunday in a daytime race at Richmond. Is Martin Truex Jr. the top Toyota racer and most likely to win from the Joe Gibbs Racing organization?
I'm going to say yes. He's had a very strong start to the season. I think he will be one. I think right now he's a top Toyota driver in NASCAR, and I wouldn't be surprised if he at least is in the top 5 tomorrow in Richmond. He's had a lot of success, so I look for him to have a really good finish tomorrow.
I'm also going to say yes. He's on the pole. He's won 2 out of the last 3 at Richmond. He wasn't really a factor in the early phase of the race last week at Martinsville, and then came through to take the win. And it wasn't that long ago that we were lamenting Truex for not winning on the short tracks, and now he's the king, the current king of short tracks. So good to see that has switched around. He'll definitely be strong tomorrow. One person to look out for tomorrow, and he is in the Toyota, is Kyle Busch, because he's the most winningest, as much as I hate that word. He is the most winningest driver at this track But obviously, one win in the last 12 months is not good. So let's see if Kyle can turn his luck around at one of his best tracks.
Yeah, definitely. Richmond would be a good time for Kyle Busch to turn things around and get a win. Yeah, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, even you could say Christopher Bell. Definitely one of those four. Joe Gibbs Racing would be a great pick for our Pick a Winner segment at the end. So tell us in the chat room, who do you think is going to win the NASCAR Cup Series race? And Richmond is a short track, as everyone knows, but compared to Bristol and Martinsville, it has some differences. The track has a tri-oval, so it's D-shaped, and the race usually has less cautions compared to the other two short tracks. Plus, tire management is key in this race, especially since it's going to be in the daytime instead of night. What kind of strategy will you be looking for tomorrow?
Yeah, that's one key point there you've mentioned, Kobe. This is the first day race at Richmond for quite some time. So that's going to be one key factor. It's going to be warm-ish. So that will be interesting. If a bit like last week, I feel, any run over 25, 30 laps on a set of tyres, you're going to be coming back for some new ones. We'll have those people that try and stay out for stage points, so guess that we always see. And then if we get a late caution, of course, that might throw another spanner in the works as well. So be interesting to see how the wear is during the race in the daytime compared to the nighttime that we've seen in the last few years at this track.
You bring up a really good point with the tire wear. That's going to be a big factor. We know there's going to be a competition caution in that first stage. Essentially, afterwards, I think it's going to be a race to the end of stage one. Is that second and third stage is going to be really interesting. We're going to have more pit stops. Assuming if we have cautions, I have a car set up for a little bit of like a, not exactly a short run, but not exactly a full long run, like we saw Ryan Blaney did last race weekend. And of course, come towards the end, especially if we use up all the tires and you have a lot of grip on the track, but still tire wear is going to be a big thing. Could set up for a really interesting finish.
Yeah, definitely it could be an interesting finish. And last weekend we saw a chaotic final stage, and the big one happened with 15 cars piled up on the backstretch. An incident started by Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski. Yeah, some of the big names that were also included were Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch. Not to mention, it looked like almost every vehicle had some form of damage. Does Richmond demand a cleaner race and greater importance to keep the car damage-free?
It does have a greater importance in keeping the car clean. It's not often you see a car beat up in victory lane at Richmond. Tire marks on the side, that's one thing. Maybe you could get away with a push-in nose if you rear-ended somebody a little bit. But overall, compared to what we see in like Martinsville, Bristol, the cars usually come back in one piece if they're running towards the front. And that's going to be really important for the racers tomorrow.
And also, I'll add to that, Joe, you need really good brakes as well. I think if you have a really clean car, have really good pit stops, and I believe if you start at least in the top 20, you'll have a shot to win at Richmond.
Yeah, definitely some good points you bring up there, Adam. You want to make sure your brakes are working fine there at the short tracks, and also try to go mistake free, or it could definitely be a long day at the office. And Richmond is the 9th race of the 2021 season. It'll wrap up the first quarter of the NASCAR Cup Series season. And the second quarter starts next week at Talladega Superspeedway. And some of the tracks in the second quarter include after Talladega, the mile-and-a-half track Kansas, and then the Darlington Throwback Race, Dover. The first time in history, the Cup Series is going to be going to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Then the NASCAR's longest race of the season, the Coca-Cola 600, a road course, Sonoma Raceway. I know people are going to be excited to go back out to wine country. Then a brand new race on the schedule. NASCAR's returning to Nashville Superspeedway, and then Pocono. And looking more at the second quarter and all of the different tracks I mentioned, got a super speedway, mile-and-a-half, and an endurance race, a lot of different types of tracks. Is the second quarter of the season going to be more challenging than the first quarter?
To answer your question, Kobe, yes. Next week, like you said, we go to Talladega, where anything can happen, will happen, and usually does happen. You have two road course tracks in Circuit of the Americas and Sonoma, 1.366 mile track in Darlington, and plus Nashville, Pocono. Never forget the Coca-Cola 600. I believe we could see a lot of different winners at these tracks, And who knows? I think it'll start to be a more competitive NASCAR season.
I have to agree. It's going to be competitive because one of the things, it doesn't seem like we have a schedule to the point where the teams sort of getting a groove of mile and a half, sort of building that consistency because we just have different track after different track. Talladega, the super speedway, that's going to be challenging. And it's essentially the wild card race. Almost anybody could go out there and get the win. The longest race of the year, 2 road courses, a brand new super speedway, Nashville Super Speedway. Technically, it's not a super speedway, but that's the name of the facility. It's going to be really, I think, a challenging portion of the schedule. It's going to be a big test for the drivers. I can see maybe the big three still getting wins. Of course, the big three teams of Gibbs, Hendrick, and Penske, but they're going to have to really earn it. And if there's a driver out there that could make a surprise victory, this is a really good stretch to get that done.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a diverse set of tracks, and we could definitely see a lot of surprises coming up in the second quarter of the season. And you can catch the NASCAR Cup Series race at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox, noon Pacific, and 11 a.m. Alaska start time. And weather this weekend, thankfully, is not going to be a major concern, and definitely it should be a nice break from all of the rain delays we see there. 20% chance by 6, but hopefully we'll be wrapping up the race by then. And we also want to remind you that the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race at Richmond is coming up shortly at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox Sports 1.
Yep, looking forward to double NASCAR again this weekend. We've got bikes as well. MotoGP is back for its 3rd race of the season. It returns to Portugal at the roller coaster that is Portimao. Last year at this racetrack, then series rookie on the KTM, Miguel Olivera, smashed everybody, pole, fastest lap, and a race victory. His first in the class on his home track. This weekend, the big story going into the weekend is the return of the champion, Marc Marquez, or the former champion, should say. Marc Marquez is back after his almost year-long layoff with the big arm injury he suffered last year at Jerez. Guys, how do you think Marc will fare in his first week back on the Honda?
I think Marquez will be very careful on the track. We saw him today in qualifying. He came out on the track a few minutes after the end of the Q2. He must be very careful, but we know that he can be very, very fast because we already saw him 3rd in the free practice, number 1. It's a new track for him, and he had very little time to adapt to Portimao. But they will be careful with his arm this weekend.
And a good point about his arm, we saw in Q2 how he was moving that arm right before he got on that bicycle to set some laps there. Had a good lap, and then we saw him following rims, went a little wide, get him set down another faster lap. So definitely it's going to be really interesting to see how Marquez does. I have to agree. I think he's going to learn a little bit of a conservative race, not push it too hard, just try to get those laps logged in, get a good finish. It is hard because he is a racer after all. If he could see the opportunity to get a win, I could see him trying to make that happen.
Yeah, he's normally had a crash at this point of a weekend, or more than one normally as Marc, and he's not had that so far this weekend. We did have one Honda go down in free practice 4, which caught everybody by surprise and was shocked to see, but it was actually Pol Espargaro who had a big crash in free practice 4 as we all held our breath, but thankfully Pol was okay. This is the 3rd race of the season, as I said, coming out of 2 races in the Middle East at Qatar. Johan Zarco is the somewhat surprise championship leader, but Yamaha won both races at Losail with Maverick Vinales the winner of race 1 and Fabio Quartararo the winner the week after for the Doha Grand Prix. Zarco's teammate Jorge Martin is out for this weekend. He got on the podium in the 2nd race at Qatar a couple of weeks ago, but he crashed this morning in free practice 3 and will take no further part in the weekend with an injury to his hand. Looks like he might have broke a wrist. He's already posted a picture of himself in hospital, all strapped up. So we send our best wishes to Jorge, and hopefully he'll be back fit and ready to go for Jerez in a couple of weeks' time. The factory Ducati team were expected to dominate in Qatar, but didn't have a particularly good weekend, especially with Jack Miller. He was the hot favourite going into the weekend. But issues with arm pump, which he's since had an operation on, and then that high-profile on-track clash with world champion Johan Mir in the 2nd race left Jack with only 2 9th place finishes coming out of the Qatar double header. He was second at Portimao last season, so we'll hope for a better result this weekend. Suzuki, the world champions, they only scored 1 point at this race last year, with Alex Rins finishing 15th, teammate, and then looking at the world championship. Johan Mir, he crashed and scored nothing. A best of 4 for each of them so far in Qatar. What level of performance do we expect from the world champion team this weekend?
Well, I think it would be a great weekend for Mir to bounce back and get a nice, strong, consistent points finish as we saw last year on route to the championship. He was able to use that great consistency to win the world championship. And I think if he can get out of Portimao, have a great points day and use that momentum to start building consistent runs, definitely think that would be great for Mir moving forward.
And I feel that Jeremy should be a little more aggressive. He has the way of being the champion, and he feels that should be higher. Marquez only thing is he's about recovering, adapting, and trying to put aside something that puts his physical condition at risk. But I know the Marquez will be a surprise for us.
Turning to today's qualifying session, and Francesco Bagnaia actually set the fastest time and was on provisional pole position before his lap time was stripped for yellow flag infringement after a full for Miguel Olivera, who mentioned earlier on. So it's Fabio Quartararo who will start from pole position for tomorrow's Portuguese Grand Prix, and he's got Johan Zarco and Alex Rins joining him on the front row. Both of those had a crash as well in qualifying, but thankfully that was no one else could improve and knock them off the front row. We've talked about Marquez. He's back and he starts on the second row in 6th position for his first race back, just behind Jack Miller and Frankie Morbidelli. Impressive run from Luca Marini. It's only his 3rd MotoGP race and he starts 8th tomorrow on the Ducati ahead of the world champion Johan Mir. Maverick Vinales, the winner from race 1 of the season, will start from 12th position after he lost his best lap time due to a track limit violation. So it's Fabio Quartararo on pole, and we saw him streak to victories at the early part of the season last year. Do we feel like he's got that out of his system, guys, and this is going to be a more consistent run through the season for Fabio?
Yes, we hope that Yamaha maintains her relativity so that Fabio becomes a clear candidate for the title, and that pressure has been on him since last year. And for many, he is the one of who can fight more directly with Marc Marquez. They also have new names like Pecco Bagnaia, like Jorge Martin, like Maverick Vinales, and even Johan Zarco can be the drivers who ruins Fabio's plans to be a champion. And the best thing to be a champion is to score many points as possible and be constant about the crashes and lose some points.
Bringing some great points and definitely the consistency as well. We saw that's how Mir got the championship, being consistent, only 1 win. Fabio, he seems to have everything he needs to get that championship. It's a matter of him going out and performing. Yamaha give him the best opportunity to go out there and get the win and running up front. The competition has really intensified, as Jessica has mentioned. A lot of good riders out there that could take a win, but it's a matter, I feel, if Yamaha's 100% and if Fabio brings them 100% each race, it's going to be hard to beat him.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race tomorrow. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific, and that's 12 o'clock UK time. Of course, they've switched the order of races around for tomorrow, so it's Moto3, then the MotoGP race before Moto2 because of the clash with F1. So that is your order of play for tomorrow. MotoGP's 3rd race, which means it's Grid World Motorsport League eligible, and that means we'll have an update for you later in the week to see if any of the top guys will fall into the top 10. Weather very similar to Richmond over in the Algarve. Sunny, no threats of rain at this moment with one. Well, you got one there, Joe. It's 12 o'clock local time. Start tomorrow for MotoGP. Jessica will have all the bits and pieces from the MotoGP race over on Paddock Inside on Twitter. The links are in the video. And another quick plug, the NASCAR race that we've spoken about and the next race that we will talk about, IndyCar at Barber, both on USRN this weekend at the same time over on USRN 1 and 2. I'm going to be on the IndyCar race with Mr. Owens, and Joe, take it away because I'm so excited for the start of the IndyCar season.
The IndyCar season is going to be, I think, a lot of fun this year, and especially when you consider the rookie class that we have this year in IndyCar, names that we don't associate with rookie status right now in this stage of their career, but it's definitely going to be a very exciting race. Of course, Alabama, Talladega Superspeedway used to host the International Race of Champions. Listen to the field we have for this race. We have essentially 4 former Formula One drivers. 2020, 2019, Repco Supercar Series champion, 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson, plus, of course, 8 Indy 500 past winners, 7 IndyCar kart champions, and 1 ABB Formula E racer, plus the 20 additional IndyCar Series drivers. Is this the most unpredictable race of the weekend when it comes to who will win this race?
Absolutely. There's 8 to 10 guys that could potentially win this race, and one of them I didn't even think of really has topped the first practice session this afternoon. So it's all to play for. This is one of the best tracks on the schedule, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, very much excited for the race and the season. Who will put their line in the sand for the first race of the season?
This year's IndyCar season could go down as one of the greatest in recent history. You talked about so many diverse drivers from so many different series. And the rookie class could go down as one of the greatest in recent history as well. There's going to be between 8 to 10 drivers each week competing for the IndyCar Series win. And don't be surprised if you see 8 to 10 drivers competing for the overall IndyCar Series championship.
The championship, I think, is going to be very close. Definitely, I think when it comes to the teams, it's going to be really interesting to see which teams really come out and start winning. Now, Barber Motorsports Park has a feel of a permanent road course, and a lot of drivers, I say, especially one in Europe. We've seen Takuma Sato dominate this race the last year when they raced here in 2019. And essentially, we only have 6 different winners in the 10 races here. Helio Castroneves, Will Power, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgar, Simon Pagenaud, and of course, Takuma Sato, as I mentioned. How does this well for all the rookies, especially Jimmy Johnson, who's making his first race in the IndyCar at this track?
I think Jimmy Johnson said it best: is to head into his debut IndyCar weekend and set no expectations. And by looking at the practice one lap times, I think Jimmy should be really proud of himself. He's only like 1.4 seconds off the pace of the fastest driver, and like 0.2 off the next fastest car ahead of him, which is Max Chilton from Carlin Racing. And I think Jimmy only been 0.2 off from his next competitor and 1.4 seconds off from the fastest driver. I think that's a huge win for Jimmy Johnson, because when he first stepped foot in the IndyCar, he was struggling, and it was expected coming from stock car racing, trying to get used to a high downforce open wheel car single seat, or something that he's never done in his entire racing career. And I definitely think if Jimmy's able to go almost mistake free, complete all of the laps, I think that would be a huge win from Jimmy Johnson. Looking at all of the rookies in the first practice session, Scott McLaughlin had a solid session. Roman Grosjean, towards the bottom of the charts, has a lot of work to do. Seems like Del Quinn Racing is getting off to a slow start this season, but just the first practice session, the only thing that matters tomorrow is how they perform in the race. And Jimmy, definitely going to be a learning experience this year for the 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion.
All 3 rookies would want to get out of this weekend without having an incident in the race and completing the full distance, because we'll go straight to St. Pete next week for the street track. Then we've got a double header at Texas on the oval, and then it's the month of May. So it's coming thick and fast over the next few weeks. They're going to need as much seat time as possible, and just a clean race and get through without issue for all 3 of them, really. And if they can score a good hatful of points, that's obviously the better for them.
Log in the laps, good clean race, and especially since we're going to have more racing so quickly with St. Pete than Texas, definitely want to have a great start. One team looking to have a great start is, of course, McLaren SP Racing. They have 2 young drivers, Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenqvist. Of course, Pato was strong all season last year. Unfortunately, his teammate Albert Askew got injured at the Indy 500. Season didn't go exactly well. That's where we saw essentially Felix Rosenqvist join McLaren, come from Team Ganassi. So essentially a big move to go from Ganassi, a team that we associate with winning all the time, in the IndyCar series, including the defending champion Scott Dixon, to McLaren SP Racing, looking for wins and trying to build up their program. Do you anticipate McLaren SP to contend week after week with Ganassi and Penske?
They've certainly been fast in preseason training. Don't forget, Rosenquist, as you mentioned, came from Ganassi, and he got a win last year at Road America, beating Pato O'Ward in a straight fight at the end. So they're now teammates. I expect them both to win races this year, and depending on how things go on the ovals, they may even contend for the championship. O'Ward is getting faster and faster every race. Felix is a known commodity. It's a bit of a shame for me that he left Ganassi, but he's wound up at McLaren SP, and they should both be strong across the year. And I'd say competing for wins. Don't forget the team we haven't mentioned is Andretti, because they've got some very fast drivers as well, and they're going to be up there competing for the championship as well.
And speaking of Andretti Autosport, Matt, it's going to be interesting to see if Andretti can rebound from the 2020 season. As we all saw last year, it seems like Andretti as a whole kind of lost a step. And over the recent years in IndyCar, we've always talked about the big three teams: Chip Ganassi Racing, Team Penske, and Andretti Autosport. But it seems like Andretti, as I mentioned, I'm not really sure if we can consider them, as in the same group as Ganassi and Penske at the moment. I think Arrow McLaren SP might challenge Andretti Autosport to be that third team to take the fight to Chip Ganassi Racing and Team Penske. But if Andretti is able to bounce back, we could see a big four in IndyCar, and I think that would be very exciting for the competition. And I do think that we could potentially see Arrow McLaren SP compete for the championship. And actually, my preseason championship pick is Pato O'Ward, because I was just really impressed by his strong form last season. And I think he's going to break through and win a race or two and potentially go for the championship. So watch out for Pato O'Ward.
That is a bold prediction. Definitely encourage everyone in the chat room when it comes to championship or the IndyCar series. Be sure to share your comments in the chat room. We'll love to display it right here. Now, of course, Pato O'Ward, his teammate, didn't exactly have a great start. Rosenquist had an issue in pit road, made contact with the wall. The person that replaced him at Ganassi, Alex Palou, fastest in opening practice. Colton Herta and Joseph Newgarden wrap up the top three. McLaughlin was the fastest rookie compared to Grosjean and Jimmy Johnson. Are the practice speeds a good indicator of who's the fastest and most likely to win at Barber Motorsport Park?
No. I think you'll still have the major contenders up front when it comes to qualifying and the race. To see the rookies right now, especially Scott McLaughlin and Jimmy Johnson up there, it could be a really good race tomorrow at Barber Motorsports Park. And overall, I think it could be one of the greatest races overall in 2021.
I mean, one thing to look out for later today in qualifying is the odd way that IndyCar does its qualifying, and this is a short track, and traffic will be key to getting a clean lap in. So we could see some of the potential favourites out of the qualifying and be mired down.
And it looks like a little bit of a technical issue, but definitely when it comes to IndyCars, it's going to be something to follow the drivers and who's going to be out there getting the wins. But definitely very exciting. Quick look at the IndyCar weather for tomorrow as we see 60s again. Essentially very similar all across the board that we're seeing. And it's going to be a very exciting race. And of course, that race is going to be on tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. So it's definitely going to be a very exciting weekend. And we encourage everyone to be sure to follow the race for the IndyCar series all season long and right here on the Grid Network as well.
Yeah, definitely should be really exciting to catch all the racing at Barber Motorsports Park tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time on NBC. And we have 3 races this weekend in the Repco Supercars series when Shane Van Gisbergen is showing no signs of slowing down. In race 1, got the pole with a new lap record and led teammate Jamie Whincup to a Red Bull 1-2 down under. 6 in a row. And if you're counting the 2020 Bafflers 1000, that is 7 wins in a row for SVG. So here's my question for you guys. Probably going to be an easy answer. Will Shane Van Gisbergen not win a race this weekend?
Your answer to that, Kobe, I think he continues and sweeps Tasmania. And give the fans some perspective on what Shane Van Gisbergen has done. 3 former drivers have won 6 races in a row. Alan Moffat, Mark Scaife, and Peter Brock. And each time they did that in their respective years, they went on to win the championship. So could we say Shane Van Gisbergen already as the 2021 Repco Supercars champion? That's going to be a hard decision, but we won't know that until the season finale at Service Paradise on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, tough to say. I mean, he got a bad start from pole in today's race, slipped back to third, but it didn't take him long to get back to the lead, and once he did, he was gone. So yeah, 7 in a row now. He also won the Bathurst 6 Hours a couple of weeks ago as well, and he won one of the GT World Challenge races at Bathurst that same weekend. So a bit like Chaz Mostert, who in TCR Australia can't stop winning. Shane has got the monopoly on Repco Supercars at the moment, which is fine by me because I'm a big Shane fan. But I'd be interesting to see if someone can get up there and take one off him. If it's going to be anyone, it'll be Whincup, because the Red Bull team have been traditionally very, very strong around this track for many years. So if it's going to be anybody, I think it'll be his teammate.
Looking at 7 wins in a row in comparison to other racing series around the world, the record in Formula E is 3 in a row with Antonio Felix da Costa and Shane Van Gisbergen currently tied with AJ Foyt with 7 consecutive wins in IndyCar competition, and Sebastian Vettel in 2013 won 9 in a row in WRC. Sebastian Loeb had 6 wins, and Richard Petty in NASCAR Cup Series before the modern era, 1967, a lot of wins in a row. In MotoGP, Giacomo Agostini had 20 in a row. So looking at all of this, how does this superstar affect the Grid World Motorsport League and the grid ranking?
Well, in WML land, Shane can only go down because as he's been top for the last few weeks, as you can see on screen now. That was as of the end of last weekend with his maximum scores from Bathurst and from Sandown. His win today keeps him at 25. That is the maximum. So he can only go down. While that is on screen, quickly meant to mention for tomorrow in the races that we haven't spoken about, Manuel Maldonado and Rory Pettinen in action tomorrow in the European Le Mans Series opener. So they will potentially move, I would think, down, if I'm honest, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, for Shane, if he keeps winning, he'll keep top of this leaderboard for certain.
One of the big things when it comes to the grid ranking, Shane Van Gisbergen does have the lead there. And essentially the same thing. He'll only go down if he starts not winning. However, the big thing, consistency, especially if he finishes in the top 10 and we see not a whole lot of consistency in the other series. NASCAR, that's very hard for consistency. That's why we see Denny Hamlin down in 7th. The big thing right now, though, I do see World Rally Champions, potentially a few drivers that have top 10s all the time. They could be a threat to Shane Van Gisbergen, but it has to be Shane Van Gisbergen not getting the results. That's the big key I do see coming forward.
And we do have 2 more races this weekend in the Repco Supercar Series. Antoine De Pasquale finished 3rd for the Shell-sponsored Dick Johnson Racing. Is the Shell Ford Mustangs of De Pasquale and Will Davison starting to rebound after a slow start to the 2021 season?
To answer your question, Kobe, yes. I believe they will be in contention each week, at least for a top 5 finish or a top 10 finish. And if one of those drivers gets on the podium, it'll be really, really cool for the program, since their primary drivers from last year have left. Scott McLaughlin to the IndyCar series, if Fabian Coulthard went to another team. So I think if they at least finish on the podium, it'd be good.
Especially good for Anton because, of course, he crashed at Bathurst in the second race and had a non-score. So he needs to pick up as many points as possible and get back in the good books of the team, I suppose. He did a half-decent run at Sandown, but that's a good way to start the weekend here. They were one of the teams that went with the early pit stop strategy call and didn't quite work out for them, but Anton just managed to hold on for a third-place finish. So, yeah, podium's the key. If they can get anywhere close to the Red Bull cars, though, obviously that is a different matter entirely.
And the Tasmania Super Sprints is going to be happening late night, early morning if you're on the East Coast, and it's going to be a late evening for our West Coast followers. And we'll definitely have a full recap of the entire Supercars weekend on Great Live Wrap-Up tomorrow evening, 90 minutes after the conclusion of the NASCAR Cup Series race. And once again, it's going to be an easy weekend for great weather. Sunny with clouds and temperatures right there going to be starting off in the low 60s and dropping into the 50s and eventually the 40s at night. So definitely no major concerns about weather this weekend. Be sure to follow Adam on Twitter during both Supercars races at AllSportsFan24. And now it's time for everyone's favorite game, Pick a Winner.
That's right. It's time to pick a winner, and Joy leads by 1, but we have 6 races remain. We missed the first Supercars race. Starting with Supercars, who will win races 2 and 3?
Well, if you want my picks, I think this is going to be a pick. Van Gisbergen continues his dominance and sweeps the weekend in Tasmania.
Yeah, I don't feel confident picking anybody else but Shane Van Gisbergen. He's going to sweep the weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you. As much as I'd love to see a Monster or a Whincup or even an Anton get a win, it's looking pretty impossible to beat SVG at the moment.
I think this is the first time we're all going to pick the same driver, and Shane Van Gisbergen's looking good for race 2 and 3. I can only imagine everyone's probably thinking that. Probably even Jessica will probably agree to probably Shane Van Gisbergen for race 2 and 3.
And now Formula One at Imola. The winner for me will be Lewis Hamilton. He has the experience. He has a great position, the first place in the grid. So I think Hamilton will be the winner.
Well, I'm going to continue my Red Bull picks. I'm going to go with Max Verstappen. I believe some of us picked him to win in Bahrain, so I believe he'll find a way to get past his teammate in Lewis Hamilton and capture the Formula One victory tomorrow.
I don't feel really confident about Red Bull being able to get by Lewis Hamilton, so I believe I'm going to go with the Silver Arrows. Sir Lewis Hamilton's going to win in Imola.
I'm going with my pre-weekend prediction, which was Max, although he has got some work to do, as we mentioned, starting from third on the grid. So, yeah, Verstappen for me.
When it comes to Formula One, since we all went with Shane Van Gisbergen for Supercars, I'm going to go way different just to try to hopefully get a win and keep my lead. I'm going with Sergio Perez. He needs to have that great start, get the lead, use those soft tires, work the strategy. But that's going to be, he needs the perfect race to do that.
And now we have NASCAR at Richmond. Who will be the winner?
Well, I'm going to go with the driver that is from the state of Virginia. He drives a Toyota, and his name is Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, Denny's definitely a good pick, but I'm going to go with one of his teammates. It's going to be 2 in a row, back-to-back for Martin Truex Jr., and he's going to pick up his 3rd win of the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season.
Yeah, it's turning into one of those seasons for Denny. I don't think he's going to win either. He'll probably dominate again tomorrow, but not win. So I'm with Kobe. I'm going with MTJ.
I'm going to make it an all Toyota, but I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. This is a track he's really good at, and I feel if you go out there and try to get that win and start making 2021 a better season.
Now we have MotoGP Portugal GP. The winner for this weekend is very difficult to say, but I think we have Fabio Quartararo in a good position. I think he will be the winner this weekend.
Well, I've been going back and forth with this one, but I think my pick, I think he's going to make a huge comeback and take this victory. I'm going with Marc Marquez.
Yeah, and Adam, I've thought about it. Do I pick someone who's been contending, or someone like Mark Marquez who's just making a comeback? But just to make it fun, Adam, I'm going with Mark Marquez. He's gonna score a big comeback, and he's gonna be the talk of the weekend.
I'm gonna continue with what I tweeted the other day, and Mark's not going to win a race until October, so I'm going to poo-poo both of you on that one, guys. I'm afraid. I'm going with Johan Zarco to pick up his first MotoGP victory this weekend, the championship leader.
I'm going to go with a Ducati rider. I'm going to go with Jack Miller. I see him getting the win in that Ducati. That'd be wonderful for that team.
Great. And now last IndyCar Grand Prix of Alabama. Who will be the winner?
Well, I'm going to go with a fellow Kiwi. I'm like Sam Van Gisbergen. I'm going to pick Scott Dixon.
Yeah, you definitely can't go wrong with the Iceman, but I'm going to go with Team Penske, and Joseph Newgarden's going to win the season opener.
Yeah, two-time race winner at this track, and the runner-up in the series last year. I'm going to say that Joe New takes the victory tomorrow.
I think taking the victory tomorrow is going to be Colton Herta and Randy Osborne. He was looking fast. I think now he's at the point in his career where he has the experience to get the win. And we encourage everyone to be sure to participate in Pick a Winner all year long. Hashtag Pick a Winner. And, of course, just comment right here on the video as well, so that way your picks could be locked in. And we encourage everyone to, again, subscribe to the Grid Network all season long right here on YouTube. And definitely a special thank you to Colin, our Patreon supporter, for supporting us. We invite everyone to invest in the Grid Network, link in the video description, as well as the link to your 10% discount on any purchase made on Publis, harnesses, leashes, dog clothing, and of course, portion of the sales goes to helping sick, homeless, and rescue dogs. For Jessica at Paddock Insight, Adam, Kobe from the Podium Finish, and Matt from the Grid World Motorsport League, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the races. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.